All right, we're about to dive into an auditory journey to Indonesia to explore this ancient orchestra that will probably challenge everything you think you know about what music is and what it can be. And it all starts with one simple instruction.
So for the next few moments, I want you to do just that. Listen. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to name it. Just let the sound happen.
So, what do you think? Is that music? Is it noise? And hey, if your brain is kind of scrambling right now trying to find a box to put that sound into, you are definitely not alone. That's a super common reaction.
What you just heard is called gamelan. And if it felt a little disorienting, well, that's because it doesn't play by the rules your ears have been trained on your whole life. You know, the rules of Western melody, harmony, and rhythm. This is a whole different musical language.
So let's get right into it. Why does this sound feel so alien at first? It's not just that the notes are different. It's that the music is operating on a completely different philosophy of what it's even supposed to do.
I love this description because it just gets to the heart of it. A lot of Western music is like a story, right? It's a journey. It builds tension, then it gives you that satisfying release. Gamelan, it's not really about the journey. It's about creating a state, this floating, shimmering, hovering sound that you can just exist inside of.
Okay, so to really get that sound, we've got to look at what's making it. And this is not your typical orchestra full of strings and woodwinds. No. This is an orchestra that is literally forged from metal.
So the whole ensemble is basically built on three big families of percussion instruments. You've got the metallophones, which are these bronze-keyed instruments that carry all the intricate melodies. Then you have the gongs, these huge, resonant things that act like the architectural pillars of the music. And finally, the hand-played drums, which give it all its life and its energy.
So, for example, this right here is a sarun. It's a key metallophone, and with those thick bronze bars, it's laying down the main melodic idea of the piece. You can think of it as the clear, central voice you hear inside that whole shimmering cloud of sound.
And then you have this absolute giant. This is the gong aging. It's the biggest gong in the whole ensemble, and its deep, powerful tone isn't played very often, but when it strikes, it marks the end of a huge musical cycle. It's like the period at the end of a long, beautiful paragraph. It anchors the entire piece.
Now, all that rhythmic energy, the thing that really gets the music moving, that comes from the kendang. It's a double-headed drum played entirely by hand, and the drummer is kind of like the secret conductor of the whole group. They use these really complex patterns to guide the tempo and signal to everyone else when it's time to change.
Okay, so we've met the instruments, but why do they combine to sound so, different? Let's get right to the heart of it. It's about the notes themselves.
And here it is. This is the big one. In Western music, we take an octave and we slice it into 12 perfectly equal steps. Those are the black and white keys on a piano. Gamelan just doesn't do that. It uses completely different systems. The main ones are slendro, which has 5 tones, and pelog, which has 7. And crucially, the spaces between those notes are unequal. The very musical DNA is completely different.
And here's the part that'll blow your mind. What our ears might hear as out of tune isn't a mistake. It is 100% the entire point. In the pelog scale, these little dissonances are actually crafted on purpose. They make the sound waves interfere with each other to create this gorgeous beating or shimmering effect. That's not an error. That is the beauty. So think about it. When you first listen, your brain is trying with all its might to cram these sounds into that 12-tone box it knows so well, and it just doesn't work. But if you keep listening, something incredible happens. Your brain just gives up. It stops fighting it, and it starts to accept the music on its own terms. That's the cognitive shift, and that's the moment the true, stunning beauty of gamelan just unlocks itself.
So, if gamelan isn't organized by the chords and harmonies we're all used to, then how is it put together? What's the structure? Well, the answer isn't in the notes as much as it is in how the music treats time itself. The music is built on something called a cladotomic structure. I know, it sounds super complicated, but the idea behind it is actually really elegant. It's basically a system where time is organized in these huge cycles, and different instruments have the job of marking specific points within those cycles. Think of it like this. You've got a basic musical phrase called a gatra. You string a bunch of those together, say 16 or 32 of them, to create one massive cycle called a gong. And at the very end of that huge cycle, that's when the giant gong again strikes.
boom! Meanwhile, smaller gongs are marking the halfway point, the quarter points, and so on. It's like this beautiful, nested, fractal pattern made out of time.
So now that we have a little idea of how gamelan works, let's talk about why it even exists. See, this isn't music designed for a silent concert hall. It's woven right into the fabric of life.
Gamelan is, at its heart, functional music. It provides the epic, all-night soundtrack for traditional shadow puppet plays. It's used to create a sacred, resonant space for temple ceremonies in Bali. And maybe, most importantly, it's a community activity. People in a village come together to play it, to create something beautiful together. It's social, it's spiritual, it's absolutely essential.
And here's something that is just remarkable. There's no conductor. There's no one person standing at the front waving a baton. The entire ensemble, which can have dozens of musicians, organizes itself through intense, deep, mutual listening. Yeah, the kending drummer gives cues, but the real cohesion comes from the group itself. It's a profound model of collaboration.
And you have to understand, this is not some new thing. We have evidence of gamelan-like instruments that goes back more than 1,000 years in Java and Bali. To put that in perspective, this music was already ancient before most of the Western classical music we know was even written.
So, I have to ask you a question. Now that you know about the shimmering, intentional wrong notes, now that you know about the nested cycles of time and the deep cultural purpose behind it all, will you listen again? Are you willing to try and find that cognitive shift for yourself?
Because ultimately, that's the truth of Gamelan. It's this profound, incredibly sophisticated musical universe that operates on principles that are entirely its own. It's not trying to tell you a story of tension and release. It's trying to create a space for you to be in. It sounds like nothing else on Earth, because it really does come from nowhere else on Earth.